Alright guys, post-recording Chase here. And this is, I know, a bit strange, but I wanted to touch on something. So, in the last video, I said that I would get our recording stuff fixed, right? Or in the description of it, at least. And then also in the bit that I just recorded, which is going to be the next video going down, I said that I had gotten the audio fixed. Turns out that I didn't, right? And the reason that I didn't is actually a very dumb one. We're gonna zoom in on my face here a little bit. I'm not doing that, by the way. That's the camera doing it itself. But the reason that the audio wasn't fixed is because audio within the game was on. So if voice audio in the game is on, then just nothing is going to work. The audio is going to be glitchy. It's going to be battling with OBS on trying to get sound out, and it's not a good deal. So I figured that out now, right? Post recording, just so that I would have it done for the next time. So I'm sorry for this video. The audio is once again glitchy and gross sounding. It'll be good for the next one. I would 100% go and re-record the session if I could, but I can't, because obviously with campaigns and stuff, you can't go back in the campaign. Unless you're playing Call of Duty, then you can. But you can't go back in the campaign on this. I could go back to the old region, but we can't go back on the campaign. So you guys are going to have to deal with it for just a little bit longer, one more episode. Obviously, don't watch it if you don't want to deal with it. And then the next one, I promise you guys, it will actually be fixed. I did do a run-through, just kind of playing around a little bit, and it is fixed now. So please just bear with me. The next one, it will actually be fixed. Alright, thank you, and do your best to enjoy the video with the messed up audio. Alright guys, so this is, like, just started editing, Chase, so after the thing that you just saw, and I realized just how bad the audio actually is. So there were essentially two stages, right? There was the original stage from the first video, right? And also the second one, where it gets glitchy in spots, but then also kind of fixes itself a little bit. This is beyond that. This is at the spot to where when me and Bobbit were playing, to where it's just you can't even understand half of what I'm saying. So I'm having to instead do a little bit of a voiceover of what happens. So yeah, that's kind of what we're gonna be stuck with. Now going into this, we do have a couple different guns because I went through guns, and obviously as I was playing through with Bobbit, I picked up a few more and upgraded a little bit because we went around and did a bunch of the little missions with everyone else. You know, the ones where you go up to the flags and then you start, fighting a whole bunch of dudes that came down from the spaceship, right? But anyways, as we go in here, we end up at a little rock cliff, right? And the title of this one was called Learning Light. And we sit down and we start meditating. Do I know why we're meditating? No, I do not. It seems to me personally kind of strange that we're starting to meditate here, but oh well, we do as we wish, right? Anyways, once our meditation stops, we enter this kind of complex, right? And we've been in here before, surprisingly. It looks very different, so I wouldn't be surprised if you guys don't recognize it. But obviously, as I've already played through this, I do know that we have actually been here before. It just looks completely different, and there's a bunch of these weird little rock things around the place. I don't... As I was recording this, I didn't know actually what was going on at this point. We had gone in to meditate, and then all of a sudden a whole bunch of stuff was going on. We also got told that we needed to equip something, but going into my inventory, I actually wasn't able to find what it was that we were meant to equip. So that's wonderful. But as we continue along the mission, we end up finding that we gotta meditate a whole bunch. So there's all these different glowing little stations going on, and we gotta meditate. I also like to show off the gun that I got while me and Bobbit were playing. It seems to do a massive area blast, kind of like a shotgun. But as we find out very quickly, it doesn't turn out to be very good. And we end up dying, actually, because of it. As well, we finally relearn the button that our grenade is, which is very helpful. It helps us blow through the rocks, because you gotta do a set amount of damage to the rocks, actually, in order to get through them, and they'll kind of break apart and explode. So going forward into this mission, we run into a whole bunch of different enemies and stuff throughout it as we're going to meditate. And afterwards, I realized that this is probably him fighting his demons, his inner demons. But at the time, I didn't know this. It just seemed very strange and kind of without reason of what we were doing. Do I wish that I had the actual audio to this? It would have made this a whole lot easier. I'm trying my best for you guys to give kind of the feel that I don't know what's going on, but obviously I do, and it doesn't have that same atmospheric vibe. Anyways, we eventually get back to the surface, and there's a whole bunch of these more meditating places, blah 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 blah, right? We go and sit down at our first one, and it seems like it's going to be normal. Then, all of a sudden, this big triangle thing appears in the sky and starts shooting out a bunch of enemies. I don't know what's going on. It seems kind of random and unexplained, as a lot of things in this game do. But at the same time, this kind of randomness and unexplained type of thing is what makes it fun. Because ultimately, I get to shoot a bunch of aliens and be in space. But anyways, after you defeat the enemies of one section, a new objective pops up later along the line that points you to another meditation spot. There was one bit where I got stuck where I tried to skip ahead and just go straight to the meditation spot, and then it told me that I had to kill every single enemy. So, turns out that it didn't want me to do that. But then eventually I reached the objectives and we ended up finishing all of our meditation practices. Do I know what the meditations were actually for? We did end up getting a, Jesus, sorry for that stutter. That was actually me, not the recording. But we did end up getting a massive, fiery explosion grenade, which was pretty cool. But that's all that we got from it, so it seems kind of pointless. After this, we went off and we started going down this canyon. Now, as we were going down this canyon, I made a little joke that me and Bobbit made when we were together playing it, because we did go down this canyon before, trying to get to a different group mission type thing, but it turns out we couldn't access it yet because neither of us had done the mission in the area, which is the one that I'm actually heading to right now. But the joke I made going down this canyon was that, it reminds me a lot of the pod racing in the very first Star Wars episode, where we get introduced to Anakin on Tatooine, and he pod races, right? And it's a lot of fun. In both in the movie and then making that kind of correlation within the game was a lot of fun, as well with the craft that we ride on being able to boost. Very cool. Very much reminds me of the pod racing. Anyways, once we get to the flag that starts the mission, we learn that we need to find some sort of an encryption key. I do get a little bit lost trying to find this encryption key, but then we find a random chest, right? And I go to explore it because normally they have loot in them. Well, turns out that this one actually was a empty chest that was meant for the mission. So that's pretty cool. So anyways, we continue following the objectives as normal, and we end up in a little cave area. We gotta find off a couple of knights and stuff. And then we find another chest. Now, we are getting a bunch of loot along the way, right, in each of these chests. But it's not the key that we needed. So the dude ends up finding a little trace of something and points out two other locations that our key could be. So going to these two locations, we first go to one that's on a boat. And the boat one actually does have a bit of an encryption in it. But we end up having to go to the other place in order to get to the rest of the encryption. After we do that, we hop back on our pod racer and zoom all the way back through the canyon again. and end up back in the original area that we were at, starting in this. And once we get there, we got to go around and find a whole bunch of these purple glowy orbs. Now, we've seen someone picking these up before in the past, and we were very curious as to what they actually were and what they did. And turns out, yeah, they were for this mission. So after we pick up the orbs and stuff, we get directed to a new objective, which is inside an area that we've already been. It's that little place up on top of the hill where we had to go in. We found that weird ghost thing. I ended up getting trapped in a trap and thinking it was pretty cool, not knowing that it was actually killing me at the time. So that was pretty fun. Eventually I picked up that it was killing me and was like, oh, maybe I shouldn't be standing in this, and I disabled it. So after this, we actually end up encountering the wizard witch type thing, and ended up having to fight her. I pulled out a rocket launcher, actually, in the middle of this fight, and it worked wonders. It does so much damage, and I was so ecstatic. I need to remember to pull this out anytime we're doing stuff in the future, because it is so good against these bosses. It does a bunch of damage in one area. Anyways, we find the dude that decided to abandon us and go out on his own in the last video, and we find him knocked out on the ground. Wow, big surprise. He almost died because he wouldn't let us come along and try to help him. So, whoop-de-doo, we had to come and save him anyways. I'll let you guys listen to the dialogue he has to say afterwards, because I don't think I speak too much throughout it.
Are you all right?
What are you doing here?
Let you do this alone.
Navota?
She's still alive. Somewhere. We did enough to force her to retreat.
You fought her off? Alright then. I'm sorry I left you behind. After Cass and Maeve, I was just afraid to lose anyone else.
So were we. That's why we followed you.
Nobody likes to be sidelined. I'm glad you were here. I owe you. The prize is yours. Superconductor is over there. Grab it and meet back at camp. For real this time.
Cutscene.
The last survivors of humanity's collapse call the city home. This is why I brought you back. To defend them. And to reclaim our lost worlds. We're here. The Traveler. The
Traveler.
Last city.
Oh, this is the last city.
Welcome home.
Interesting. After this dude is finished, right, we end up getting a spaceship from them. And we end up going to, guess what? The Lost City. Isn't it insane? We end up talking to this woman, and she gives us a bit of dialogue, but ultimately we gotta go to the security gates. This is where I decided to end it off, and I was thinking that the audio was good. I checked the video right afterwards because I was gonna go to bed right after, and turns out no, the audio actually sucks and is incomprehensible. So I'm doing this now when I'm probably should be asleep, but yeah. Hope you guys enjoyed. The next video actually is going to be super exciting because we just made it to the Lost City. And not the Lost City, it wasn't lost. The last city. And we should be getting some new missions and be able to actually space travel. Because there are a bunch of different worlds in the directory and a bunch of different places for the missions. So that's going to be pretty cool. Anyways, I'll see you guys back for the next one. I'm sorry for the audio. I did go in. The audio is fixed. It will be good next time. I can promise. If it is not, you can beat me over the head with a stick. Anyways, I'll see you guys back for the next one. Peace out.